What's up guys, I'm Jay and this is Project GoodSpeed, where today I'm going to be installing a Mishimoto radiator cooling system. Let's get started. I haven't actually got a chance to unbox these quite yet. Sweet. Oh, cozy. Oh, this is definitely going on. Look, comes in handy already. Alright guys, so this video is sponsored by Mishimoto, and I just want to say a big thank you to them for sending this over so quickly. It actually only took a couple days. I want to say maybe 2 to 3 days after I placed the order, which is quite impressive really. I was not expecting it to come that quickly. The quality on this thing is just amazing, honestly. It's exactly what you picture from the pictures they have. It looks so freaking cool. So I mean, even down to the wiring, looks like it's pretty much a bolt-on. This clip, pretty much identical to the one I got here. So one of the reasons I actually went with Mishimoto is because they offer a lifetime warranty, and for car parts, especially for the little Civic here, lifetime warranty is a big plus. It's amazing. That's exactly what you want for a car that doesn't break down all the time, but if it does, you don't have to worry about having to buy another replacement part because this has lifetime warranty. So now that I've unboxed it, let me show you guys what we're working with here. So look at this. This is the thickness of the stock radiator, and then you can see compared to that one, not even close. So we will definitely improve our cooling. So the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to bleed this system here. I'm going to bleed the radiator of all the liquid and then just replace it with distilled water until I get all of the previous liquid out, and then I can start to remove all the parts. So another plus, I can finally address this freaking little nipple looking thing, which comes from my radiator sitting actually a little too high. So I also decided to go with a new fan just because I know this one's a lot thinner. This one's definitely got some width to it. And with the bigger radiator, I wasn't sure if it would fit. And but even if it did, a brand new one, I mean, it just looks better. All right, so essentially we just remove this little clip from down here, and if we open up this cap here, you just increase the pressure, and there it goes. Oh no, it's missing. I really hope that's not rust. So that's the first drain. Now we just fill it up with some distilled water and run it again till the thermostat opens so we can drain it again. Definitely not the right size. That's all they had. Alright guys, so I just finished the first flush with pure distilled water, and this is what we're left with. The car is just sitting out there cooling off before I can drain it again. So last night I managed to finish up the flushing and I got these. Now they look pretty similar, but you notice a more noticeable color change if I pour it into these clear ones. But now all we have to do is just remove these hoses and this bolt, and I think that should be everything that's holding the radiator in place. So this is our stock setup right here. And as we can see, this one is a lot thinner. So before I can install it, Remember, I have to adjust the angle here because the radiator sits a little too high. This angle is ridiculous. There's no room. Okay, so after some very careful and precise techniques, I managed to make it go down just a little bit. The mounting points look a little more flat like this and a little less steep like that. So before I can install the whole setup, I have to first connect the fan here to the radiator. That means using the little hardware that Mishimoto provided. So once all the screws have been placed in there hand tight, you don't want to tighten these too tight at first because it needs a little wiggle room to get all four connected. Once they're all in place, we can go ahead and tighten them with an Allen wrench. So this is where it sits now that I have lowered the mounting points on the bottom of the radiator support. One problem I see is I think I might have lowered it a little too much, or my stock bracket just isn't meant for this radiator because it doesn't fit. It's a little too high. So since I cannot really afford to have the little Civic down because it is my daily, I'm gonna go ahead and just bend that clamp to make it fit, and hopefully the parts arrive probably like in a week, and then I'll just replace them then. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on installing the hoses. Before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the outlet and the inlet hose metal here because they look filthy. So I managed to clean up the mounting points here for the hoses as best as I could. I also managed to clean up these little brackets that we're going to be using to install our piping. Now, Mishimoto was kind enough to provide this little lubricant that's going to help us get our piping installed, and we're just going to apply it here on the outer rim here on both sides. So on these two locations, and I'm going to go ahead and apply it to these two locations so we can get our piping installed smooth without a problem. All right, guys, quick update. So this piping is very difficult. I understand now why the lubricant is provided. It's about the same length and diameter, and it's not quite stretching. Freaking hard to get it, and I'm chipping away at the inside of the piping there, just trying to squeeze it on. So I'm just gonna heat the crap out of it. Hopefully it goes in smoother, but it's been a good 20 minutes of me trying to get it installed here. The other end installs perfectly fine into the engine block. No problem. It's this end that is an issue. Come on. Ow, that's hot. God. Fuck. Sometimes the bullets hurt. It's been 30 minutes. Ah, that is fucking hot. It's really hard to get this thing installed. I've got no idea what to do. I've clamped it onto these pliers to hopefully extend and stretch out this rubber thing, you know, so it just expands. I'm gonna start heating it up now, but if I can't get this thing installed on the radiator, I'm gonna have to go use my stock ones, because I'm pretty sure the stock ones would work. They seem to be a little more flexible, but these really aren't. So essentially what happens is you get the first part to go in, and then it just squeezes in because it's stretching so far out here that when I try to push it down, it just gets stuck there. So I'm gonna have to at least stretch out the entire, like 3 inches maybe, to get it to go in all the way. All right, guys, so after about an hour of trying, it looks like that last setup managed to stretch the hose out just enough for me to slide it through. It's still not all the way down, so I'm gonna try to get the heat gun to loosen up this area right here, and hopefully I'll be able to get it in much deeper than that, just for precaution's sake. So that took significantly longer than I thought it would. I barely managed to get it just enough to have the hose going through. I would have liked it to go way down here, but that's as far as it would go. The only other thing left to do is to remove these little clips, these little bushings from our stock radiator, and just put them on there. I don't know if they're supposed to be on there or not. Now that I've tightened up all the hoses and installed all the clamps and also installed our modified little bracket here, I'm finally ready to add the proper coolant. Oh, actually, my reservoir. So I cleaned it up as best as I could. Let's see if it fits. That's not, okay. Oh boy. So unfortunately, my reservoir tank isn't gonna fit. You see this little rectangle here? It's supposed to slide right in between those grooves, and it just doesn't. So what I'm thinking is I can probably take a jack and then just start cranking down here to this little bracket so that I can lift it up and push it that way. Our modified bracket gave us a couple inches. Seeing how this slants down, I can actually just crank it up and push it that way so that I can get this thing to fit in. So I managed to make it fit. I did a combination of a couple things. So I used my hammer to leverage up against the jack so that I can get that little mounting point to bend up. Another thing that I did, I removed one of the little grommets on this side, so it sits lower here and higher on this side, giving me just enough clearance to insert our reservoir tank. Another thing I'm noticing, however, is this bracket now is a little crooked. So when the new bracket comes in, I'm probably just gonna drill another hole so that I can mount it properly. I also managed to clean inside. I don't know if you guys can see all that well, but it was definitely a lot darker before. Pretty sure I gotta clean that as well. So one of the main reasons why I decided to do a full radiator flush of the entire system instead of just replacing the antifreeze that I take out is because I want to install the proper one. Now, when I took it to the shop, they decided to replace all my green antifreeze with universal, I think, red antifreeze, and I don't like that. This blue one should be able to be distinguished pretty recognizably if there's a leak anywhere, and more importantly, it's the proper one. So all I've got to do now is just fill up the radiator with the proper antifreeze and the reservoir, and we can get this Civic back on the road. So I filled up the radiator, I filled up the reservoir tank. Now, oh, I forgot to actually clip on the fan. Clip, and all that's left now is just to turn the car on, wait for it to get to temperature, and then we can let it air out any bubbles in the system so we can add more antifreeze so that there's nothing but antifreeze in the system and all the air is out. Now, because the sound of my exhaust messes with the audio and it just gets all loud and annoying, you can't really hear me talk. I'm gonna go ahead and just do this off camera and hopefully we'll have no issues and that'll be it. Oh boy. All right, guys. So the radiator has been installed. Got the old one right here. So what did we learn today? This looks cool. Let's get a few shots of what we got going on here. So it sits relatively in the same position. I do need a new bracket, however. I waited for the temperature to get up so that I could check to see if the fan kicks on, and it does. So in terms of complexity, this really isn't that complicated. The hardest job in this entire install were these hoses. They are very tough. Oh yeah, the only issue would be the hoses. I highly recommend the heat gun, honestly. Without it, I don't think I would have been, it would have taken me all day without doing the heat gun, honestly. It took me about an hour just to get the parts that attach into the radiator installed. But once I worked them well enough with the heat gun and stretched them out, they go in pretty smooth. But the part that took the longest was the flush. So essentially all we did was we drained it, we filled it up with distilled water, ran it to temperature to make sure it all ran through the system well, and then drain it again, and then just repeat that process. I mean, just look at it though. It's definitely a lot thicker. Just look at how thin this one is. Really thin. Ever since I got the Civic, this install has always been on my list, and I just want to give a huge shout out to Mishimoto for sending this over. It really is like awesome. Honestly, I think it's one of the best looking radiators you can get, and it has lifetime warranty. That's impressive. So this little guy smells really good. It's like strawberry or cherry, which is, you know, really weird because it's like they knew. It's like they somehow knew. Look at it. And that's gonna be it for this video today, guys. Huge shout out to Mishimoto again. Thank you guys. Thanks to them, this little Civic is one step closer to being finished, or rather, oh come on, let's face it. This is a project little Civic, it'll never be finished. That's gonna be it for this video, so take care and Goodspeed.